Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's a Kevin Jackson Show. Glad you guys are with me. Gosh, can I just let you know how much has gone on while I was playing catch up and I had Brett, the disgruntled millennial, sitting in for me on Friday. But between when I left off on the show on Thursday, over the weekend, etc., we are talking about a handful, aren't we? I'm talking about a two-man lift of information about these leftists. You're finding out things about these fools that you never knew. You suspected maybe, but you weren't sure. We're talking Uranium One. We're talking about things that were so obvious to us that it's shocking that the left even bothered to bring it up. I'm talking about these Russians. I told you guys at the time that the left brought it up. I said, you know why they're bringing up the Russians? Because they're involved with the Russians. You know what I've told you? Should we all say this together? The left tell you what they do by telling you what they suspect you of doing. If they call you a racist, it's because they're racist. If they call you a misogynist, it is because they are misogynists. Okay, Mr. Weinstein? Are you going to finally start to pay attention? You are. I know you are. I'm not trying to chastise you. We all had a good weekend, didn't you? You have a good weekend? Did you do like a Halloween haunted house or something with the kids or even with the adults? Those are fun. Whatever you did, I promise you, the left didn't rest. They still are trying to figure out how to spin something. Like, for example, they're still trying to spin after all the things that Harvey Weinstein has done, after everything that we know Hollywood is involved in, they still bring up Donald Trump. They still bring up conservative men and call us misogynists. Let me tell you what we are. We're the guys that open the door for a woman. We're the guys that pick up a check for the woman. We're the guys who the word courting was used for back in the day. Because we courted women. We respect. I'm not telling you we don't do wrong. We're not perfect. We're dudes. But at least we have some modicum of respect. We have enough respect for women to tell them, don't be men. No, be better than us, because you know what? The way we think of you guys, the way we think of conservative women, we look at it as God told us, okay, guys, y'all think you're all that in a bag of chips, huh? Let me show you a woman. And we went, you know what, God? You got us right there, buddy. You got us right there. People who don't want to go to blows every time something comes up, people who are not hotheads, people who have a compassion that is inside of their DNA that we don't possess. They have to help us find that. And you know how they do it? They bear our children. And that's what settles us down. Because we have this chemical called testosterone that pumps through our veins. And that chemical is what makes a man go, what did you just say? So that is the reason. That is the reason why a bull elephant in Musk is not to be messed with. Not by his handler, not by anybody. Leave him alone. And what we do, women learn to control our musk. They add fragrance. They add flowers. They add florals. Ooh, you're a bit musky, Kevin. Here's some florals. And they do the things. They make us do the things that we don't want to do sometimes. They're like, hey, you need to go out and play with your son. You're like, what? You need to go play with your son. I'm busy. And they go, yeah, but you're a dad and you got to go do that. That time's important. You're not going to get it back. Don't be a workaholic. Take a vacation. Get out and go golf. Go hit the gym. Go work up some endorphins or release some endorphins. Whatever they give you. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then you do it and you're like, wow, that was pretty cool. That's a good thing. But what I'm telling you, folks, is these leftists they want to take the manliness out of you. It isn't that they want to, a good conservative woman says, no, I want a man, but I want him to be sensitive. I want him to understand the other side of the equation. And that's cool. But a conservative woman doesn't want to take your manhood from you. Let a woman, say something like, you're such a pansy. Get away. She's not a conservative woman. Now, a leftist woman will call you a pansy. A conservative woman will respect you as a man. And she, for the most part, she will do it all the time. She won't challenge manhood. And that's not to say challenge of womanhood versus manhood. It's not a pit of one against the other. Any more than a real conservative guy will not challenge a woman's womanhood. You don't do that. There are lines you don't cross when you're talking about gender lines. But the left will cross it. They want effeminate men. They want chumps. Rush Limbaugh actually commented about this. Maybe we'll play that clip a little bit later. I'll save that. But he was right. I mean, I've known this for quite some time, but it's good to share it. It's good to know that the great Rush Limbaugh thinks along the same lines. We have been emasculated. I talk about my sons all the time. They would come home from school, my older boys, and I'd say, how was school? Fine. They're learning a lot. I'd say, so what happened today? No, not much of that. I go, cool, tell me. Well, the teacher called, we were doing things in class and blah, blah, blah. And, she called on different students to do blankety blank. And I'd go, well, how'd you guys do? We didn't get called on. What do you mean didn't get called on? She doesn't call on guys. She calls on girls. Why does she call on girls? Because the boys always raise our hands and the girls won't. So she won't. She just quit even doing that. She just say something like Susan, Darla, Katie, and they have to answer. And it's part of this esteem building thing. And he went all the way through it. And I went, you got to be kidding me. Now, look, I don't mind that they want to have little girls feel more, that they can speak out and things like that. That's a great thing. I don't have daughters, but I would expect that. But they wouldn't have to ask my daughters. My daughters would have their hands up. And they'd say, yeah, I want to answer the question. And I know there are people like me out there. So, look, all I'm getting at, folks, is while we rest, while we go play, while we try to do our family stuff and all that, these people are plotting against us in every way humanly possible. And they're trying to enlist who we think were representing us. And I'll use George Bush as an example. They try to enlist a George Bush and make an example out of him. Like, George Bush is even speaking out against Donald Trump. Like that gives them some kind of, extra reinforcement. George Bush was a putz. And the more I think about him, the more I wish I had gone back in time and I lambasted him the same way before I got political. I got political during the time of Obama. People always ask me, why don't you bash Bush? If I had had the opportunity, I would be bashing Bush. I have it now. Today I'll bash him. I'm sure Brett did on Friday, but I didn't do this Friday show, so I'll bash him on Monday. Anyway, my point is that if they deserve it, we're going to bash them. But there's so many things going on. So many things. Things that will test your sensibilities, that will make you understand how much this world tilted to the left. And it's time that we righted the ship. Got the earth back on its axis. Sit tight.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, fellow at the Robert J. Dole Institute, best-selling author. Book that's out right now is Race Pimping. You can get it at racepimping.com. And I want to talk about nationalism. I want to talk about Make America Great Again. I want to talk about America First. I want to talk about conservatism, and I want to talk about it in the context of George Walker Bush, George W. Bush. He was in the news last week, did some sort of speech somewhere where he talked about the bigotry in America. America's got bigotry. We got some bigotry. We got to get rid of this bigotry. Bigotry, bigotry, bigotry. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of being lectured on bigotry, on diversity, on racism, etc. I'm sick of it. George Bush couldn't fill a thimble with his knowledge of bigotry, racism, sexism, etc. He couldn't fill a thimble. This guy lives in practical isolation from everything he talks about. What it shows you, when people mention bigotry, multiculturalism, all this other crap, these are people that are doing nothing but giving you back talking points. I, for one, am sick of it. He said replacing nationalism with nativism. What exactly does that mean, replacing nationalism with nativism? I'm curious. Somebody tell me. Look, I'm a native of America, which makes me an American national, which makes me proud of this country, which makes me, I have an affinity to this country. I don't cheer for other countries at the Olympics. I don't cheer for other countries in negotiations. I want the best deal for America. And you know what the best deal ends up being? You know what's funny about deals? People believe that if you feel like you got the best deal, the other guy can't feel like he got the best deal. Let's say you trade an ounce of gold worth $1,500 or whatever it is, or $1,300, an ounce of gold for $1,300 worth of a product that you're going to go make in your manufacturing process. The guy who got the gold feels like, I got over. Maybe the gold was worth $80 more than he bargained for, so he made a little money. $100, whatever. The guy who got the products, he feels like he got over because he's going, I've looked elsewhere and I would have paid $1,500 for these products and I only paid $1,300. So everybody's happy. But the left believes if America puts itself first, then the country they're negotiating with can't feel happy. When we sell somebody, I don't know, whatever the product is, when we ship beef over to China, if they don't have beef, then I would think they're happy with the product. And we're happy to have the market and to have our manufacturers or beef companies make money and keep the economy going. That's the way it works. You barter for a service or a product or whatever, and everybody feels like they've gotten the best deal. The left believes somebody in this transaction gets screwed. So what? The guy takes his $1,300 worth of manufacturing product and he turns it into $1,000 of profit or so. That's what he would do for the most part. And what if he didn't? What if he just consumed it and it was an even trade and he felt good? What if he even lost a little bit? And he's okay with that because it was a learning process and he was, he's going to do better the next time. Who knows? But these guys, it's an in-sum game. We can't be nationalist, the way in the spirit of nationalism of old America. Oh, which old America are you pointing back to? Are you hearkening back to, George Bush? The 1960s America where black people couldn't feel that they were a part of the country because of the oppression of Democrats? What are you hearkening back to? See, I can hearken back to the spirit that founded this country. A bunch of people who said, you know what, King, we don't have to pay attention to you anymore. You are now so much into our business, then you're sitting over there on your throne doing nothing as we have to fight indigenous people, weather, try to grow crops, and try to send you back taxes just because we're your, quote, subjects. Enough is enough. That was the spirit that founded this country. Enough is enough. You ever felt that about something? You ever felt that about an old girlfriend or old boyfriend? You ever felt that about a friendship? You ever felt that about a job? You ever felt that about your politicians? It's not a new sensation. Enough is enough. America has sickened of the way that things were getting done under the old system. we become worse than slaves of the King of England that we separated from. We are far worse off. He would look at the situation today and go, holy cow, I guess I could get a lot more out of those subjects. He'd look at us. He wouldn't even bother us. He'd give us free tea. I'd get him in everything else. Marriage licenses, fishing licenses, licenses to do business, permits and occupancy permits. I'll just get him in parking tickets. This dude will be looking at, this is all the way we can make money? Joe, boy. They'd be high-fiving over at the castle. Throwing parties every night. Which is, by the way, what these leftists do. They take your money, they entertain, they throw parties, and then they pretend to give to each other's charity so that they look like they're good people. I'll use Harvey Weinstein as an example. This guy is known as the pig in France. They knew him in the film festival Cannes, whatever you want to call it, but it's pronounced Cannes. And it's in an area of France, it's like the French Riviera. Beautiful place. And Harvey Weinstein would go over there every year. He stay at the Hotel de Cap, which is on the outskirts of Cannes, and he would rent out an amazing villa and practically take over the hotel. He'd host a big gala there every year. They can count on Harvey Weinstein spending millions of dollars at their hotel. They host the event there, and Harvey's over there molesting women left and right. The hotel staffers said the guy thought he was God. They said he was smug, egotistical, you name it. And the chauffeurs that drove him knew that he was, driving around underage girls, and he's, forcing them into situations they didn't like. They'd come out of there the next day crying and so on and so forth. And Hollywood pretends that they don't know anything about it. And to this moment, and I haven't heard anything that happened over the weekend, and I'll admit I wasn't looking. But as of right now, with all the rampant activity of this type that's in Hollywood, I've heard nothing of anybody else being outed. Nothing. I've heard of a fashion photographer being outed and a couple of other people unrelated to Hollywood, but the directors, nobody's outing them. Nobody's outing producers. Nobody's outing casting people. Nobody's outing anybody in Hollywood. Harvey's carrying the brunt as they still try to, push the blame elsewhere. All these heroes, all these courageous people. Finally, our Justice Department may be looking into this. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about George Bush. Because I'm going to tell you something, folks. I'm a proud nationalist. They're not going to make this a dirty word. Be a proud nationalist. Be a proud American. Make America first. America first. They are not going to ridicule us into obscurity again. Those days are over, George Bush, Barack Obama. You're not going to make us hate this country. And you know what? Many of the kids that are starting to come through this system are going, I don't get these people. They understand it.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. All the discussion around George Bush got me thinking about these Bushisms. And these are silly things that George Bush said. Now, Saturday Night Live used to make fun of him, talking about strategery. And I think he does say nuclear, for nuclear. He says nuclear. Well, but there are many other things that the man said. But this is what got me to thinking about it, because I've always been a George Bush fan. Now, here was why. It was a very simple thing. One, I didn't think of him as a professional politician. He was governor for the state of Texas, and he did a good job for the state. There's nobody that can argue that. He got rid of Ann Richards, I believe is her name, all of her taxes. He just erased all of them. And state of Texas was doing well. Now the state of Texas did well. I say we because I lived there during the time. But the state of Texas does well because of oil revenues. And that's always been high. And they've always had a pretty big dollar rainy day fund. So The Texas economy has been booming for a while, etc. The businesses, it's got a great business climate. I could go on and on. So it isn't that George Bush is necessarily so good, but those policies are the reason why. And getting rid of Ann Richards' stuff brought more business in. California helped by chasing people out, as did Illinois. So Texas is booming in that regard. Now, when Bush became president, he got Bill Clinton's world. And the very first thing that happened to him was we got the World Trade Center bombing or destruction. And I looked at what George Bush had to overcome, stock market crumbling. It went down as low as 7,000. It's hard to believe that, given it's 23,000 now. Stock market went to 7,000 and change. We disrupted all kinds of things from the financial system to the economy at large. We didn't feel safe in America anymore. So then he overstepped with the Patriot Act. But I think, at the time people were like, oh, it's worth doing, et cetera. We can look in retrospect on that. But he inherited that mess, and he came out with strength. And I like that. Now, he coined the phrase compassionate conservatism, which I think is a silly thing because conservatism is compassionate to those who need it. It's the most compassionate form of ideology. So, but he came out with that and he was ridiculed. And then he went on to become what is really a leftist. He wanted to call himself a compassionate conservative, but he became a leftist. He spent money like a crazy man, upped the budget by over $1 trillion over previous years, and used the notion of our security to do it. And even though we're paying for our own security, when people fly through the airport, don't even try to figure out the amount of money these guys make with what that thing they tacked on to every ticket now for Homeland Security. That number is staggering. The number of flyers every day spending $20 in fees for the artificial idea of security is ridiculous. You should get a refund every time there's a terrorist attack. But anyway, so they put that on. The Patriot Act allowed all of the spying stuff that Edward Snowden ended up being a whistleblower for. So we have all that. And he then took money because the economy was starting to falter a bit. He says, I'm going to give Barack Obama $787 billion for a debacle created by Dodd-Frank and other Democrats, bails out Obama, who then takes every George Bush negative and puts it on steroids, and meanwhile, while doing it, blamed Bush. And now they're buddies, as we say in the hood. They're ace coon boons. Love each other. Woohoo! Love me some George. Love me some Barack. At Trump's inauguration, Michelle Obama and George are beaming over one another. Let me tell you why Bush is doing this. Because he's a typical rhino Republican. He's like McCain. They want to be loved by the other side. They will sell their souls to be loved by the other side. Let me tell you something. Michelle Obama, she's cordial to Bush because he is overly friendly. If he's just cordial and friendly, she's not going to like him. He has to kiss her butt. That's why she likes him. Would she help him? No. Publicly, Michelle Obama will do nothing other than let people see that Bush fawns all over her. That's it. She will do nothing public to help George Bush. That would ruin her cred with black folks. The Obamas cater to blacks. And they proved that in their administration. Michelle Obama will show up to white events, but where she really, as my grandma would say, showed out, was when she went to go hang out with Beyonce and the Beehive and those girls. That's when they got their black on, boy. If they would let you see how those women were acted behind the scenes, you wouldn't even believe that was Michelle Obama. You'd go, that was the first lady? I mean, I saw Michelle Obama I think she was practically twerking at some event. We wrote a piece about it and people got mad at me. I'm like, what are you mad at me for? Can you imagine a first lady getting up on stage? I mean, I'm talking about being down, in a twerk position. And from what people said, she was twerking. So imagine what she did when she was behind the scenes. Anyway, this whole Bush thing got me thinking about all this stuff. And now the left wants to accept George Bush. They talk about his art. He's a pretty good artist. They talk about, all the new polls. George Bush, maybe he wasn't as bad as we thought he was. See, that's all these guys. That's what bugs me about people. This is what I like about Trump. What's going to happen is the results will speak for themselves. Is he going to brag about them as they occur? Sure. If history then comes back and says Donald Trump had funky hair and, he was a bit abrasive, Trump's going to be, that's in the rearview mirror. I hope the dude lives to be 150 and still feels the way he feels so he can say, I don't care what y'all think. Let me tell you, I hate to say this, it's because I don't want kids to take it the wrong way, and they do listen to the program. But here's the deal. It's not an earmuff thing, but I don't care what people think about me. I really don't. You could call it a character flaw. It's like when I'm thinking about radio. I don't care what people think about me from a sponsorship perspective. I don't care what they think about the opinions I have. I don't care. That's not to say I'm dismissing you. It's to say that my opinions are my opinions, and they formed because of good quality thought, logical processes. If you don't agree, it's okay. But if you expect me to care that you don't agree, you are talking to the wrong dude. I do not care. And you know what? I look at my friends. I have a friend named Mark. When we would go play basketball, I was the diplomat. Mark would be like, Kev, now look, we ain't here to make no friends. We gonna stay on the court because we only got an hour, and if we lose, then we ain't gonna get to play. And we're not here to make any friends. So I don't want you to make any friends, man. I was like, all right, dude. And so Mark, he quick shake your hand, hey, okay, whatever. And then he's in the game, and he's in it to stay on the court. And I got to tell you, I appreciate that about him. I appreciate that lesson from him that there's a time for friendship, and there's a time when you want to stay on the court. We, as conservatives, want to stay on the court. Hey, good to know you, competition. Nice that you're going to be sitting down in 10 minutes when we finish beating you, whatever the score is, 13 to 8, and y'all got to go sit down. Nice to know you. Next group. When we start thinking like that, we'll be better. But anyway, the left, they believe that they're making Bush into a hero. So I want to read a few of the things that Bush has said over the years. Here's what he said, New Hampshire, January 27th of 2000. I know how hard it is for you to put food on your family. Now, I know that's slip of the tongue meant on your table. Probably was thinking feed your family, but he said it. Here's another one. Florence, South Carolina, January 11th, 2000. Rarely is the question asked, is our children learning? Again, one of those that you just go, Kevin, you're just making fun of it. Yeah, it's true. But he's a dummy. Here's another one. Too many docs are getting out of the business. Too many OBGYNs aren't able to practice their love with women all across this country. And they're not able to practice their love with women. If your OBGYN's got Barry White playing when you walk in, you might want to think again. Unless he's good looking. If he looks like Brad Pitt, then you guess what? Dudes, you better go to that exam. He says this of discussing the Iraq war with Pat Robertson in 2003. Oh, no, we're not going to have any casualties. Really? Here's what he said at the Economic Forum in Waco, Texas. I promise you I will listen to what's been said here, even though I wasn't here. That's a real Bushism right there. Here's another one. It said in Gothenburg. We spend a lot of time talking about Africa, as we should. Africa is a nation that suffers from incredible disease. Bush's policy in Africa, by the way, was really good. I'll give him that. And he says this in Saginaw, Michigan, September 29th, 2000. I know the human being and fish can coexist peacefully. Let's do one more because we're going to run out of time. Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They will never stop thinking in new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we. We'll be back, folks. Kevin Jackson shows what you're listening to.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Uranium is a big subject. If the mainstream media would cover the uranium scandal and that Russia has 20% of our uranium for whatever reason, and a lot of people understand what those reasons may be, I think that's your Russia story. That's your real Russia story. Not a story where they talk about collusion, and there was none. It was a hoax. Your real Russia story is uranium and how they got all of that uranium, a vast percentage of what we have. That is, to me, one of the big stories of the decade, not just now, of the decade. The problem is that the mainstream media does not want to cover that story, because that affects people that they protect. So they don't like covering that story. But the big story is uranium and how Russia got 20% of our uranium. And frankly, it's a disgrace.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Uh-oh is all I have to say. Uh-oh, Hillary Clinton. The Russia scandal grows. When does it add up to treason? Selling our uranium to the Russians. I mean, we're talking about thermonuclear war material. It's not selling olive oil, folks. The walls close in on the Clinton cartel finally. And now I know many Americans have felt like the Clintons are untouchable. And your feelings are understandable. I get it. After all, the Clintons have escaped the inescapable. We have watched these people squirm out of things where you go, you've got to be kidding. There's no way they get away with this. But they have been able to. Look at how crooked former FBI Director James Comey ran interference for this mafioso family and their crooked foundation. And at this point, I will tell you, only the most ardent Clinton supporter and brain-dead moron, but I'm being redundant, would believe that the Clintons have done nothing wrong. The evidence here, folks, and you know what I'm about to say, it's overwhelming. And the Clintons still walk among the general population, shopping and gallivanting. The president tweeted about this, and you just heard his comments because it was much like the tweet. Why are you not looking at this? I mean, if he piles on, and remember, I want you to remember, after the election, Donald Trump says, look, I'm just going to leave these fools alone. I'm not going to be vindictive. I don't want to appear vindictive. Look, it's not vindictive to say, let's get justice. Anyway, Judge Politano was on Varney and Company, and he agreed with President Trump, and he had some advice. He said that the president should call on General James Kelly, who is his chief of staff, and he says the president should ask Kelly to contact the attorney general and ask them to reopen the case on Hillary Clinton. And Napolitano says this action would lead to an indictment against the Clintons. And I don't think there's a person who's really paying attention to this who would disagree. Now, I want you to remember where all this ended. What I'm about to tell you was on November the 2nd. This was Bret Baier. He was talking about this on Fox News, and he gave 5 points as to why the Clintons were in trouble. He said, Number one, the investigation was far more expansive into the Clinton Foundation than anyone had reported so far and has been going on for over a year. Number two, the laptops of Clinton's aides, Cheryl Mills and Heather Samuelson, had not been destroyed, and agents are currently combing through them. The investigation had interviewed several people twice and plans to interview some of them for a third time. Number three, agents have found emails to have believed to have originated on Hillary Clinton's server on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Now we're back here. But I'm saying this was on November the 2nd of last year. 4. Sources within the FBI have told Baer that an indictment is likely in the case of pay for play for the Clinton Foundation, barring some obstruction in some way from the Justice Department. I'll get back to that. And number 5, FBI sources say with 99% accuracy that Hillary Clinton's server has been hacked by at least 5 foreign intelligence agencies. Now, that was November the 2nd of 2016. Comey was still in power, and everybody was sort of, figuring this guy's going to, how much more protection can he run? If he wants to be considered a legitimate FBI director, then something's got to give. Nothing happened. Now, I want to walk you back through. We talked about this, probably 6-7 months ago. And I explained to you guys what Comey's background was and why he wasn't going to indict the Clintons. And we're just starting to get the real picture of this, but I want to explain to you again. So Comey was a assistant U.S. attorney in the late 90s. He only gained power and money by being a DOJ official who, quote, investigated and cleared Bill Clinton of any wrongdoing in Clinton's totally corrupt pardon for huge payoffs of criminal financier Mark Rich as Clinton was leaving the presidency. This is how Comey began his career as a creature of the swamp years ago and a servant of the Clintons. Comey provided cover for the Clintons in their gaining power and wealth after leaving office through pardoning the billionaire money laundering arms dealer and criminal. Comey was a key piece in how the Clintons upped their corruption game and gained incredible wealth through their foundation after the Clintons left the White House. Remember, Hillary Clinton has a fear. I'm talking about an abject fear of going broke. She talked about, who else would say, well, when Bill and I left the White House, we were dead broke. The Clintons, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton could live on, chicken farm in an old shack. Not that he wants to. He loves the power, but he doesn't crave the money. Hillary Clinton craves the money that comes with that power. So anyway, Comey was part of this. And so the scheme that gave Mark Rich a free pass when he should have spent his life in prison is what Comey covered up for the Clintons. And this set Comey up to be part of the machine, and it made the guy wealthy and powerful. So when people were trying to pass Comey off as some nonpartisan, blah, 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 nonsense. Comey has never been nonpartisan. He might have given up an affiliation. I'm no longer going to declare Democrat or Republican or whatever, but he has been part of the Clinton machine from day one. Now let's go back to Lockheed. So after the Clintons' dirty work as a DOJ official, Comey resigned from DOJ, took a position as the head attorney of Lockheed Martin, and they're a big military contractor. So while he's in this position, Lockheed became a major contributor to the Clintons, contributed millions to their charity and its fake charity spinoffs. And in return for those payments to Clinton Inc., Lockheed received huge contracts with Hillary's State Department. Comey was the chief legal officer at Lockheed throughout the period of the contributions to Clinton Inc. in return for State Department contracts. This is easy to figure out, folks. This is not, you don't need to do a whole lot of investigative work to see where Comey was in the DOJ, worked with Clinton, Bill Clinton, left there to go to Lockheed, worked with the Clintons, getting money to their foundation. And in late 2012, after he oversaw Lockheed's successful relationship with the Hillary Clinton State Department and the resulting profits, Comey stepped down from Lockheed and received a $6 million payout for his services. Then he went to HSBC. In 2013, the largest bank of England, HSBC, was in scandal. Investigations by federal authorities and law enforcement have revealed for years HSBC had been laundering billions of dollars from Mexican drug cartels, and they were channeling this money for Saudi banks who were financing terror, moving money for Iran in violation of sanctions and other major criminal activities. It was pervasive. HSBC was a huge Clinton Foundation contributor, many millions throughout this investigation, and Bill Clinton was being paid large speaking fees at these events while Hillary was Secretary of State. Eric Holder and the Justice Department did what they were paid to do, and the HSBC they let HSBC off with a $1.2 billion fine that was paid by the stockholders or the stakeholders. But not one director, not one office of management member of HBC was fired or charged with any criminal activity. Comey was part of the effort to cover up the scandal and make HSBC respectable again. Then he was appointed to the FBI with no experience in law enforcement. And that's when he started running interference for Hillary Clinton. You got to read this whole story we wrote about a while back, but it's a sordid tale, trust me.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. Glad you guys are with me. KJRadio.com, where you can find out more about us. 844-551-8255. The NFL, they played some games over the weekend. I didn't watch any of them. I hope you didn't either. I can't tell you jack that's going on, and I'm so proud of that. I'm just not paying attention to these guys. I watched, what was it? It was an NBA game. What clip was that you guys gave me? Some black girl. This girl can sing, and she finishes the national anthem. It was at a basketball game, and then she took a knee, and everybody booed. And she says, "I'm not going to get invited back, but I just had to make my statement." And I'm thinking, wow, this girl could flat out sing. I'm talking about she was Whitney Houston talented. She didn't have to do that, but she did it anyway. But this stuff is going away. It's getting less and less. These big whiny babies. I mean, what an embarrassment to be black and American. And I'm not, people, black people, Kevin, you're ashamed to be black. I'm not ashamed to be black. I'm proud to be black. Very proud. I don't kowtow to white folks. I laugh at these black people that tell me this kind of nonsense. You're just a tool of the man. Really? So when I greet white people, because I'm happy to see them, they're human beings like me. When you greet them, what does that make you, Mr. Ethnocentric Racist? All these clowns that talk to me, who works for myself, I'm beholden to no white man. You could say, well, Kevin, Fox News contributor, Fox pays you. Yeah, but Fox, it's like Roger Ailes told me. He says, Kevin, keep in mind, when we pay you, we don't expect this to be your chief source of income. And it's not. I mean, people think you get rich. If you work at Fox News and your name is, if you were Bill O'Reilly or Megyn Kelly at the time, or Hannity or somebody like that, you make a lot of money. And you do what I do? Gee, please. Let me tell you something. If Fox said to me today, started making demands of me, I would say, y'all go straight to you know what. I don't need your little money. It isn't that it doesn't help, but believe me, it isn't enough for me to sell my soul. Not to mention, if it was the money that I would be, if I was making what O'Reilly or Hannity or those guys were making, I still wouldn't do it. You're not going to get make me come out of who I am because you're writing me a fat paycheck. I live way too beneath my means to be beholden to anybody. So it cracks me up. But what's funny about it is the very same people. I mean, I see these guys. They got to go to work, Who's their boss? Some white dude. Who's their boss's boss? Some white dude. Who's their boss's boss's boss? Some white dude or some white woman. And they come all militant at me. Yeah, man, you're a tool of the white man. Well, what are you when you go over to blankety blank Incorporated? You're nothing but a tool, a two-faced tool, going on home and going on social media and attacking somebody like me while you got to go to work and yazza massa, step and fetch it because you secretly hate white folks. So which is it? Do you hate white people? Now I'm talking only to black folks right now, black leftists. Do you hate white people, or do you love them and you don't want to let the truth come out that you really have no beef with them? See, I think it's the latter. I think the majority of black people have no problem with whites. They've been trained to have a problem with whites. I've asked too many, what's your beef? What has the white man actually done to you that you can say, this impacted me? Don't talk to me about Ray Ray and your cousin that got arrested because he was beating up his girl. Like in Minnesota, this black dude gets called, the police get called. He's beating the crap out of his girlfriend, his baby mama, in public. Black folks call the cops on him. Cops show up. Dude tries to take the cop's gun. Cops shoot dude, right? And who do they blame? They blame the cops. Like the cops had nothing to do with the donut shop, and they said, ooh, you know what? There's a black guy with his family. Let's go beat him up and then shoot him because we got nothing better to do. We need some controversy. It's crazy. I was talking to a law enforcement officer over the weekend, bumped into him at a Lowe's, and we were he recognized me, and we were having a conversation about the police. Anyway, he mentioned something profound about Black Lives Matter, and I don't remember what it was, but we were also talking about, he's from California, and we were talking about this law that they passed, I believe, can't remember the number, but he knew it because I said, you guys in California raised the shoplifting thing. He says, yep, to $950. And he said, he goes, you've seen the outcome of it. I said, no. He says, people will go around the store with calculators. They will put $900 worth of stuff in their cart. They figure it out with a calculator and they walk out. And he says, it's a misdemeanor now. And so, he might get a ticket or whatever, but he goes, it's not technically theft anymore. So we were having this discussion about, why, the black community is effectively, the way that it is. And I said, well, you have to understand, we don't consider, that's how we got on this subject. I said, like Michael Brown didn't commit a theft in the eyes of blacks. And he says, what do you mean? He says he stole the cigarettes out of the store. I said, yeah, but that's why Sharpton said he didn't do anything wrong. And we went on to talk about that. And then I said, well, you guys passed that law in California that moved shoplifting, the crime for a felony, used to be $500. Now it's $950. And he started telling me what they do now to get around it. And I couldn't believe it. And he says, Kevin, that's why I left. We talked about Jerry Brown and this new HIV legislation and the pronouns and getting arrested and on. And he goes, Kevin, it is crazy there. Couldn't wait to leave. And because, it was funny. He recognized me. Yeah, you're that Fox guy. Yeah. And then we get into this conversation. But I'm just telling you, the world is loony, and it's loony because of these leftists. And I told him, if we sat there, for about 10 minutes, and I said, if I had written this down, you would think this was a massive joke, that you'd be looking for the camera, the where am I at on, Crazy Cam TV for us talking about a subject like what's going on in California. And he goes, that's why I left. Anyway, much to talk about, but I just wanted to at least share that with you because I'm just telling you, people are witnessing this. And the sad part is he's left California. He's no longer one of the people that can help solve the problem. We're ceding parts of the country to the liberals, to leftists. And so great. He moved. Others have moved. And some of them are moving because they're tired of it, and maybe they are strengthening Texas and Alabama and other places. But a lot of them are just moving because they sense how crazy it's gotten, but they're bringing their nutty ideas to Texas and Alabama and Arizona and other places. Anyway, we got a ton to talk about. Even Obama campaigning.
This This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's a Kevin Jackson Show. So, to catch the World Series, the final game of the championship series between the Yankees and the Houston Astros. What an interesting series in so many ways. And here's what made it interesting, in my opinion. The Houston Astros go 2-0 at home. Then the Yankees sweep them, which is really unusual. I watched part of the first two games and thought, Houston's got this. I didn't watch the next three games. Next thing I know, the Yankees, I'm seeing the score 3. I'm like 3-2. What? So, that's how out of tune I've become to sports. So anyway, I watched game 6, and I don't know the pitcher's name, but man, Houston's pitcher, the dude is awesome. And I talked to a friend of mine who's a former professional pitcher for Detroit and a couple of other teams, ended his career in Colorado. And he said, Kevin, he goes, I watched this guy pitch a no-hitter against us in Detroit. And he goes, even though it was against us, it was amazing as a pitcher to watch this guy pitch a no-hitter. He said he pitched all 9 innings. And, the guy's got so much control. I can't remember. Verlander, I think's his name. Anyway, he says he's got such control. But he says, here's what's most interesting. The guy was throwing 101 miles per hour in the 9th inning. And he goes, our batters were coming back to the box going, what do you want us to do? He can pick his location and throw it over 100 miles an hour in the 9th inning. I said, what was the pitch count? He said it was over 100. He goes, this guy he's a beast. And game 6, crushes these guys. I think they beat him, 6-1, 7. It was a sound defeat. And the bats finally got to work for Houston. So that was game 6. And so I said, Houston's going to win it after watching that, because they were saying Houston hadn't scored in the whole series. They hadn't scored X number of runs, but that day they scored more runs than they had scored the entire time. And I said, their bats have awakened. They finally got it. We're not going to skate into this thing. So the next game, my son had a baseball game, so we're at the baseball game. And this little boy's like, Houston 1-0, Houston 2-0, Houston 4-0. And, of course, the game ended up 4-0. I didn't see it, but I saw, got the score and all that and got interested in it because it was a curiosity. Now, my son, he's kind of a Yanks fan, not for any other reason than like he'll hear Aaron Judge, whatever the guy's name. I think that's his name. This guy's a beast. He hits home runs like, he makes it look simple. But and the kid is a good player. But anyway, my son, he's going to the Gold Gloves again this year, and he knows all these players. So he's rooting for New York. He's like, Kevin. He's like, Dad, who you rooting for? I said, Houston. He said, why? I said, because we're Texans. And I mean, nothing against New York. I mean, it's kind of a second home for me. Half the time I'm up there doing stuff with Fox. But long story short, they win the game. It's now going to be Houston against the Dodgers, who are supposedly got the best record in baseball from what I hear. So it should be a really good matchup. It starts on Tuesday. So I don't know. We'll see how the game goes. But I will tell you this. There's a fun thing to be interested to some degree in a sport again. And I won't get crazy. I'm not going crazy over these guys because you never know what they're going to do. It's too many social justice warriors now and all that. But right now, baseball is the only sport that's been relatively safe. And it was fun to have this sort of camaraderie. In the case of my son and I, we had this, this antagonistic thing because he was for the Yankees and I was for Houston. But to be honest with you, I don't really care. And one thing that I will tell you that I'm instilling in this kid is don't you care too much either. Because these players don't. They can go from team to team. They don't care. They're getting a paycheck. Don't you get too invested in it. But anyway, I don't know if you caught that, but it is coming up. I'm interested in the World Series. Another story that caught my eye was this 9-year-old mailed President Trump $3. And it's such a cool story because the kid learned that the president doesn't take a salary. I don't know if he knew that he donated it. And so he decided he'd send his allowance to the president. And I love stories like that. And look, I wish we could look at it and say, boy, this is the new backdrop of youth. They're now being taught to appreciate the president, and schools all over the nation are saying, welcome President Trump, and they've got his picture up, and they're talking about what a great job he's doing. It's not happening. Now, you should be demanding it, but here's the thing. You guys that are listening to me, you're not in the schools that need it the most. I mean, that's just the facts. Until we can get beyond this echo chamber that we have of conservatism and figure out a way to get over to the other side, these kids are going to remain in this conveyor belt of ignorance. Now, the way you break it up is what we did on November the 8th, 2016. We changed from an incompetent community organizer who never should have been president to a competent person who will ultimately change. We cut the cord a little bit, but I won't tell you that we started our own conveyor belt of sanity. So we disrupted it. We disrupted the ability for the manufacturing process of liberalism, leftism, to continue keeping kids in idol worship of Barack Obama and the left, but we still haven't started our own manufacturing process. And I think that's what we've got to focus on. So I'd love to tell you this kid's story is more than anecdotal. It's kind of like my son. Now, the kids that I'm finding here in Arizona tend to be a lot more in tune with the president. You'll find, like my son came back, he says, Dad, almost everybody in Arizona at the school is a Trump supporter. Yay. But it's a district where, it's heavily Republican, blah, blah, blah. So, and even with that, you can still see where there's still some leftist ideas when he talks about what these kids say. They support Trump, but they don't know, they still haven't figured out what conservatism means. And I think that's part of our duty is to define conservatism in such a way that it cannot be, you can't twist it any longer. I tell people, look, what is it to be, how can you possibly not sell conservatism over liberalism? Just as an example, I think about my life of going out and partying when I was a kid, and I've always been conservative. But sure, I was a kid. I wanted to go out. I wanted to get the fake ID and sneak into the bar. I wanted to drink early. I smoked cigarettes. I did things that I probably wouldn't have, they told me, don't do it all. I'm going to try that. I didn't do any drugs, thankfully, because I just didn't want to be strung out. But we did it all. But here's what I didn't do. I didn't get stinking drunk. I didn't lose my sensibilities and not wake up places and not know where I was. I didn't drink and drive. I didn't do a lot of the things that these other kids do and that give them regrets. So, as I say all the time, we are the same people, conservatives and leftists. We're the same. The only difference is we hold ourselves to some level of accountability, thinking a little further into the future. We got to teach that to these kids.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Paul Manafort, right? He during an anthem, right? Up with the president, right? No, right. That's the question, right? Someone's doing this, right? For $1,000 here or there, right? Sort of bubble, right? This is laughably terrible, right? So right. I have this crazy spectrum, right? Not strong enough, right? Smoking back in the movies, right? Planning an apparatus, right? Completely ahistoric, right? We'll get even higher, right? It's out of the house tomorrow, right? In some ways, right? We have it, right? There's two issues, right? Which he ended up with, yes. Right? Watergate is a sort of interesting precedent, right? It was crossing over all the time, right? They are putting the screws to him unquestionably, right? Be some missing context here, right? Those were all Trump voters, right? It's definitively not true as we now know, right? 99% of them are non-politicals, right? Still, he connects the two, right? I mean, when you saw the healthcare bill, right? Performance, right? All that rubber's going to hit the road at that point, right? They're coming up with, right?
Welcome, everybody, right? That was Chris Hayes of MSNBC, right? Yeah. It's funny. You develop these tics in media. I have them. I say things I'll say anyway a lot. And it's funny when you go back and listen to yourself and you catch yourself doing it. And God forbid you actually focus on trying not to say it, because then you're like, you get all tongue tied. That was Chris Hayes, who says right after everything he says. And here's what's interesting about it. It's a technique and a tick that he doesn't realize he's developed, because he needs validation for the things that he says, right? See, people do that when they are unsure of what they're saying, so they need you to go, yeah. And your inclination as a human being is to go, well, yeah. He's like, oh, so the dog, poop is good in your soup, right? Right. And you're like, yeah. No. And so before your mind, your voice or whatever, your brain catches up with what you just agreed to, you've agreed. And what's funny to me in watching him do this is that he doesn't realize he's doing it, but he needs that affirmation. He's not even necessarily right when he says right. And that's what's funny about it, is that he's generally not right. And it's funny that I'm saying it's funny. People catch these things and then they say, hey, check it out. I wouldn't probably notice it. I've seen those synopses that they did of Sharpton, and I don't know that there's a verbal tick like he says the same thing. I'm sure there is, because most of us do. But to put it all together, and especially with this affirmation, I find interesting. Because when you're wrong as much as Chris Hayes is, to need that affirmation is interesting. I'll say things like right and give you time to say, well, no, not really. And generally speaking, when I go right, I'm pretty much daring you to go against me. Listen to what Chris Hayes, go back and look at anything that he's done and where he says right, and you'd be going, no, that's not right. You'd be, at the end of it, no, wrong. But I'm telling you, if I set you up and go right, you better just go, yep, you're right, Kevin. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about Rachel Maddow. I never watch Rachel Maddow. For the life of me, I don't know how this woman has a show. I talked to an executive at Fox who says, well, Kevin, she's pretty sharp. And I went, yeah, it's about as sharp as a butter knife. What are you talking about? She's sharp. Well, she's able to get people to tune. I go, look, between us girls here, I guarantee you, if I was on MSNBC and all I did was bash Trump, I could get an audience, and I'd be much more interesting than Rachel Maddow. Her staccato delivery. So, we've got Donald Trump back in the news. And what we have is developing, and it bugs me because it's all theatrics. It's to allow herself time to think. Here's, it's funny. I watch my interviews. There I go. It's funny. I watch my interviews and I say to myself, slow down. I make more verbal faux pas during my interviews because my brain is a lot faster than my mouth. And I also know something else. And I'm just explaining what happens when you guys see me on TV. I know I only have 45 seconds. So here's what happens. I get the call. Kevin, we want you to come on, blah, blah, blah. What's the segment about? It's about this. We need your talking points. You give them a few talking points. You never give them more than they need. They say, great. Carl, pick you up, come over, blah, blah, blah. How long is the segment? 3 to 5 minutes, depends because they're trying to stretch it out. And it depends on who's before you, who's after you, what the topics are, where you are, which block. If you're in the top block, you'll get a lot of time because that's leading off. It's hot. If you're towards the back, you might get bumped. Just depends. So you can figure all this stuff out when you're doing it. Well, long story short, you show up, and if it's just you giving commentary, then it's pretty easy. You can slow down. You'll see those are my best interviews. I mean, in terms of less stumbling over myself. When you're in the window with the host and then another person, they're going to either come to you first or go to that person first. You'll get a response. Then they're going to go back and come back again if you're smart and you demand your time and don't let the other person talk you through. And I've learned how to do that. I'll go like, whatever. You'll hear me say things like that because I want to remind the host that I'm going to give you back a contrarian view that's going to be good TV. So those are the little tidbits. So the point of it is that whatever time you're going to get, you better know in that 4 or 5 minute segment between setup, video, the other person speaking, you're going to get a small amount of time. So my mind is already racing through the 5,000 things that need to be said for this to have really a deeper dive. And, but you can't necessarily say it all. So I know it's frustrating for you guys. Kevin, you should have said this or you should. Yeah, I know. But you got 30 seconds twice to talk, if you're lucky, in a 3 to 5 minute segment. Seriously, that's it. Go look at my interviews. You'll see. You go time them and see how much time. And what I do is I try to be respectful because I want the other side's view to come out so I can bash their brains in, metaphorically, of course, with what I have to say. But you have to fight for your time. So long story short, I look at what Rachel Maddow does and I say to myself, this woman, she vamps. The other day, she's on TV for 25 minutes. And she sets up the tragedy that happened in Niger. And it's funny when she leads off, she says Niger. The other people call it Niger. I think it was Secretary Trump's whatever they call it, Chief of Staff Kelly talking about Niger. And then she goes Niger, and then she goes Niger, also known as Niger. And then she goes on to call it Niger because it sounds a lot better to say Niger. So she's talking about Niger, and she's setting it up. 25-minute diatribe. And she tried to connect the dots of this tragic ambush where 4, I believe, I'm not sure if they were all Green Berets, but one of them was. But they were killed to President Trump's travel ban. She spent 25 minutes. And what was funny, I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, 4 people were killed in Niger. 4 American soldiers were killed in Niger. We still are trying to figure out the circumstances. But when it was time to talk about Hillary Clinton and the 4 people killed in Benghazi, Rachel Maddow was a mad cow protecting Hillary Clinton over Benghazi. So I went back and I said, I'm going to look at what was said during Benghazi. And every interview with Hillary Clinton was, they're after you. And you can't find an interview where Rachel Maddow is holding the feet to the fire of the Obama administration or anybody over the death of 4 Americans who, by the way, had it not been for the bravery of friends of mine like Chris Tonto, and the other guys that you guys saw in the movie 13 Hours, many others would have been killed. There would have been dozens of people who died. There were some unknown heroes that helped those people escape, and the guys that you heard about, that the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers that were there, who fought for 13 hours as Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama ignored them, are the ones you get to know about. And yet again, is it a story of triumph? To some degree, yeah, because you had, but yet guys that got killed, guys that are no longer able to use their bodies. I mean, Chris is beat up. One of the Navy SEALs that's a friend of ours, he lost the majority use of his arm. I mean, these guys had career changes over this. Now they know this. They knew this going in. And of course, we've got the guys who died. And what a shame. And Rachel Maddow is talking about these 4 men who died and connecting it to the travel ban. It was such a farce that her own people, the left, said, "What are you doing? You're making a mockery out of this. You're making us look bad." They said, "You're so anti-Trump that it's becoming so obvious that they can't even cope with her." I'm going to leave it there, but trust me that this is going to backfire on her.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Accusations leveled against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein came to light. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who represents the 30th Congressional District in Dallas, says she was disappointed in the man who was a big financial supporter of fellow Democrats in Washington. But she also believes women have a responsibility as well.
I grew up at a time when it was as much the woman's responsibility as the man's. How you addressed, what your behavior was. So I'm from the old school, that you can have behaviors that appear to be inviting. It can be interpreted as such. That's the responsibility, I think, of the female.
Congresswoman Johnson, who has been alive more than 8 decades, acknowledges she is from the old school, but insists her message is meant to empower women.
Do you think it's time to stop talking about what women are wearing in this conversation and talk instead about the power that some people have and the power that some people abuse?
I think we also need to start talking about the power that women have to control the situation. There's law enforcement. You can refuse to cooperate with that kind of behavior. I think that many times men get away with this because they're allowed to get away with it by the women. When you have an expectation that that might happen and that's how you got to do it to make it, that's a mental thing that has to change with the woman.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. That was Eddie Bernice Johnson. She's a Democrat in District 30 out of Texas. And I got to tell you, when I watch Eddie Bernice Johnson, and I'm sure many blacks feel a lot the same way, she reminds me of my grandmother in many ways. Dyed-in-the-wool Democrat. I looked at her skin. She's got beautiful skin. If you see her video, she's 80 years old. She so reminds me of my grandmother. My grandmother was a much prettier lady. That's not a slam at her. My grandmother was just gorgeous. She really was. And, but I look at Eddie Bernice Johnson and I see my grandmother in her. And when she's saying this, but my first thought was, Holy Mother of Todd Aiken. What did Eddie Bernice Johnson just say? What is going to be the backlash from the left on this 80-year-old, this octogenarian black Democrat congresswoman who dares speak the truth about women and womanhood and being a lady and so on and so forth? She sounded a lot like a conservative, right? There I was pulling a Chris Hayes on you, right? She drove a stake through the heart of the women's movement. Now, I'm going to say this. I disagree with her on part of it. I don't believe a man ever has a right to force himself onto a woman, whether it's with his physical power or whether it's the power of a position. You know, like, well, you know, in order for you to do this, you've got to sleep with me or whatever. I don't believe either of those cases should exist. But what Eddie Bernice Johnson is saying, and we'll get more into this, is that women can keep themselves out of that situation. I agree with what Eddie Bernice Johnson said. In many cases around Harvey Weinstein, the women had the ability to stop the man. Let's face it. Sometimes life takes courage. And unfortunately for the left, they define courage in the strangest of ways. And I'll give you an example. I've used this example before, so bear with me, but it makes my point. Jason Collins was called courageous when he came out gay. And this was a man who was engaged to a woman to marry her. He's making her believe that she's, you know, going to have a husband who's going to take care of her and love, honor, cherish, it's blah, blah, blah. But the president of the United States at the time, Barack Hussein Obama, called Jason Collins to congratulate a man for cowardice. The cowardice of Jason Collins is that he hid his sexuality from his fiancée, not from a girl he was dating, not from a girl he had met, not from a girl he was seeing, not from a friend or whatever. This is somebody with whom I'm presuming he had some sort of intimacy. And he certainly led her to believe that they were going to be married. And Obama defined that as courage. I just want you to understand the backdrop of courage, how we define it versus how they define it. Let me tell you something. Many of the things that are defined as courageous to me, I go, that's not courageous. That's just normal, conservative people doing things. For example, he ran to the car to help that child or get that whatever. That's just normal stuff that we do. Conservative men rush into the river to save the family. We, grab the kid out of traffic. We stop the attacking dogs. We do. That stuff is normal for us. We don't even look at it. Interview a conservative man after something like that. He's run into a house because he heard a kid crying. He doesn't. They put the camera in his face. You're a hero. I'm not a hero. I did what everybody together, anybody would have done. Now, anybody doesn't mean a leftist. A leftist will watch you burn. It's just the truth. They don't have the testosterone. I may be a little preachy and I may be a little one-sided towards conservative men, but I will put conservative men against these lefty metrosexuals any day of the week. We have real men, rugged men. We are what arms. If you want to know who's protecting this country, it is conservative men. That's why the left hates the military. We're too manly. The military showcases the American man. And they hate that because guess what? They want no pronouns and no genders and blah, blah, blah. 3 genders, 20 genders. Why not 50? They don't like men. They don't want us to be men. And did we ever play that Limbaugh clip where he talked about that? I don't know if we did, but it's worth him hearing. It's worth hearing where Limbaugh says they want to emasculate us. I've talked about it time and time again. Young boys are being not called on. I talked about it the other day. I'm not going to rehash it. But what I'm getting at is the manly man. That's who we are. And women have, this is the strange thing. Women have much more power over us than they give themselves credit for. I believe they know it. They have much more power. Certainly conservative women know how much power they wield over their men. You want to know why? Because we respect them. At some point, a man has done something in his life. He's like, going up, and his wife says, babe, honey. And he's like, what? And she's like, you're going overboard or whatever. And she, through a voice of reason, gets him to just go, you know what? You're right. He doesn't have to listen. I mean, it's like a female gorilla saying to the silverback, hey, calm down. He looks over. This is a dude that can lift an SUV. And he calms down. It isn't music that calms the savage beast. It's woman. Anyway, life's choices require courage. And for the left to look for role models and courage is an exercise in futility. Courage is in short supply anywhere leftism flourishes. You can't find courage there. Oh, those girls are courageous for coming forward with Weinstein. Really? How courageous are they? They've waited decades. Their careers are built. And get this, even with their careers built, with women who have made millions of dollars and can still command millions of dollars, who else has been outed in Hollywood? I'm going to keep bringing it up until they do it. I wrote of feminism. They may publicly play the fraud, but behind closed doors, they are anything but feminist. Occasionally, and it is admitted rarely, one of these feminists admits publicly that they screwed up. And that's what happened to this devout feminist as she apologized to Christians. And it was a thing in WND, a founding member of the radical feminist group called Femin, disavowed the organization. She apologized to Christians, and she adopted a pro-life stance. Sarah Fernanda Giromini, once known as Sarah Winter, helped create Femin Brazil in 2012, and now she says the group promotes the destruction of the traditional family and all moral values of society. Now, you know my stance on feminism. It's not needed. Provides a crutch for women too lazy to work in relationships. They blame being physically and emotionally vile human beings on men. They've decimated the black community, and I've talked about it for a long time. And I'll cover it a little bit more in a bit. But Eddie Bernice Johnson, she gets it. And she's laying out truth. She's saying, you know what, women? You don't have to put yourself in a situation. You can, if all the women in Hollywood said, I'm not getting on the casting couch, what happens? You got to start putting people in roles because they're good. It's easy to fix. And do you go back to a director's room by yourself? The answer is, of course not.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. Barack Obama is campaigning. He loves this. The only thing Barack Obama's ever done well in his life is he's campaigned. He's an amazing campaigner. And what's interesting about it is he's a conniving campaigner. Barack Obama can't win by the rules. But the thing about politics is there are no rules. That's why he loves it. He doesn't have to go on his record. He doesn't have to go on. He can't use, in the real world, you don't use your race as a crutch. I mean, not if you're an accomplished person. You'll never hear Donald Trump talk about race in the sense. If things were reversed, Donald Trump would be a billionaire black guy, billionaire Asian, billionaire Mexican. It wouldn't matter. Race would not be in any way, shape, or fashion. It would just be, my name is Donald Trump. But it wouldn't matter. He's a successful dude because he understands success. I will tell you, the idea of making young black men strengthening their minds is a scary thought to the left. It really is. And here's what's sad about it. I want you to think about an America where the people that are up and coming and run this country are fearless. I'm going to do a special on this. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do it, but I want to talk about how fearlessly beautiful the black community is. Think about the black community. And for the record, folks, I'm not ranking them any higher than anybody else. This is a circumstantial thing. But I want you to think about what's come out of the black community, okay? So go with me for a second. To go home in a black community, you have to put yourself in harm's way. You don't know where it's going to come from. You don't know if it'll be a stray bullet from a gang war. You don't know if you're walking down the street and some gang initiation ritual says shoot that guy. You don't know if you're walking down the street and somebody's just going to rob you or kill you or rape you. We commit an amazing amount of crime in the black community. It's just the truth. So just to be in the black community, you have to have a level of fearlessness that the white kids in the suburbs can't even relate to remotely. Most of them can't. The only ones who can relate are the ones who a crime has been committed against. But other than that, they're anecdotal in what's happening in the city. I mean, I want you to think about a 13-year-old kid whose buddies deal drugs, have guns on them at any given time, have probably been in multiple fist fights. And I could go on. I could tell you things about the black community that would shock you. Young girls who have watched their mothers beaten, they've watched their dads get killed, they've watched their brothers go to prison, and I could just go on and on. And so I'm just saying, I want you to think about the mentality it takes just to exist in many of these communities. Then I want you to think about the kids who find themselves having to do things that they don't want to do. There are kids who are raising their parents. Think about that. There are young men who go out, young boys who go out, and in order for their families to survive, they have to go deal drugs or steal or do something criminal in order to, just to make the family run. And I'm not excusing any of it. I'm just telling you these are the facts. Now, I want you to stop for 1 second and ask yourself, what would happen if you took these kids who have this mindset of scraping and getting by and having to take care of their own siblings, raising their own siblings and having to go get money for them and figure things out? A parent who's on drugs or having to work too much and still can't pay the bills, one parent in prison or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of circumstances I can give you. And by the way, there's a lot of black folks that have no knowledge of this either. There are some great places blacks live that don't constitute, quote, black neighborhoods. But you get what I'm saying. But I want you to imagine us taking those children who have that mindset that if I have to, I'll take care of my parents. If I have to, I'll take care of my siblings. And they're willing to do anything. They're willing to fight. I could tell you stories about people willing to kill for their families, and they have done it. And you look at it, Kevin, he's a killer. And I go, no, you don't get the circumstances. But take those people out of that environment and give them a sane environment. Give them some structure. Give them the ability that you give to other kids that just have it all laid out, that have the two parents, that have the structure, that send them off to school, that they apprentice, they go work, they work as interns or whatever, and unleash them into a society. And tell me what you get. You've got gladiators on the streets of America who end up dead or in prison or locked in some hopeless situation that they can't figure out because their environment never changes. Now, some of you say, well, Kevin, you'd work yourselves out of it. No, you don't. Let me tell you about myself. My grandparents moved me out of it. They moved me out of it. I moved to a 25,000 acre cattle ranch. There wasn't much chance to get. The only trouble I got into was pissing off a couple of bulls every now and then, and maybe the occasional rattlesnake or snapping turtle or something. But there were no other distractions out there that took me away from what I knew was my mindset. But I could have easily succumbed to the streets. That's what we call it. In the black community, say, man, you got to get out them streets. When you hear that, you know exactly what they mean. They mean in the streets, there's nothing but trouble. Around every corner is a new set of trouble. So we have an opportunity in America to take some of these kids, to take that mindset and set these kids off on the right course. And that's one of the things that I want to do. And it isn't just about black kids. There are white kids that have the same mentality. There are many. Look, I'm just saying we're squandering resources. And we're flying over these kids as if, they're hopeless. They're not hopeless. In fact, they're far from it. And we should be looking at ways to get these kids extradite them from this situation. Anyway, Barack Obama's trying to win again in Virginia. Let's stop him. The Virginia governor's race. He loves campaigning, but we need to show him that he's not what he used to be. We'll be back in a minute.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com is where you can find out more about us. I hope you go there. I hope you share the links that you can get to and put them into your email feeds or whatever. If something that I say is profound, let us know. Let us know the date, the segment, whatever, because we like to know what you like. And lots going on in radio for us. And, I don't know where things are going to go. It's funny. I've told many people over the past, year or so that we don't, at our group, we no longer try to orchestrate in the sense of let's go get over here, do this or do that. If we did that, maybe we'd be farther ahead, or maybe God would still chuckle at us. But what we do is we say it's God's plan. Whatever goes on in this organization is God's plan. We'll do what we do. We'll produce what we produce. And, it's funny. I was doing an interview, and one of my, I forget, somebody asked me, Kevin, what do you do before an interview? And I said, I always look up right before I close my eyes and I ask God to give me guidance in what to say. And that's it. That's my prep. And generally he does. Is it as eloquent as I'd like at times? No, it never is. I don't know. I've had maybe 2 interviews in the hundreds that I've done where I went, that was a great interview, because for whatever reason, I like the topic. And generally I don't do the interviews unless I have some interest in the topic. But certain ones are better than others. For example, when the cops got shot in Dallas by the BLM guy, that was one of my best interviews. And something else happened earlier, and I was on with Tucker when he was on in the morning, on the weekend. And that was one of my heartfelt interviews. I wasn't in a suit. I was probably traveling. I looked like crap, greasy face and everything. But it was one of the best interviews because it was heartfelt. I mean, all of them are, but I'm saying that topic, whatever had gotten me so upset that it elicited even deeper emotion. But I always ask God, give me the words to say, because I'm not doing interviews because I'm trying, look at me, I'm on TV again. My sons, they know, hey, Dad's on TV. It's no big deal to us. You know what you guys, Kevin, let us know when you're on TV. For what? And I look, I get enough mail from you guys going, Kevin, I love when you're on, man. You're just, to the point. You're not, and I appreciate all that. But I promise you, I swear to you, I don't even think about, is this furthering my career or what? I'm going to do Fox and Friends on the weekend on November the 4th and 5th. The only reason why I'm doing that is because if I do get a gig on Fox and Friends, it will give me a daily conduit to represent you. To hear somebody say something to go, I don't totally agree with that. I believe the people listening to us right now are asking themselves these questions. I believe when we hear an interview like what so-and-so just gave us, we leave them with more, questions than answers. People are going, why didn't he answer this? Why didn't he answer that? Why will you not? I'm going to call people out. And you know what? If they never invite Kevin's never coming back here. It's okay. It's okay. Because like I said, it's all God's plan. I could have been filthy rich in this business if I turned on you. When I tell you this, I'm not even playing. If I wanted to sell out, man, I would be one of the biggest names. It might only last 15 minutes, but I would be one of the biggest names in politics. I was listening to a radio show the other day, and it was on a comedy channel, and they were bringing up Milo and all that. And I was thinking to myself, if I made one flip, you wouldn't even know who they'd be talking about me because it would be this guy flips over. I've got this firm belief. The reason why the left doesn't want me speaking in universities and being shouted down like Ben Shapiro and these guys and Milo. And by the way, 2 amazing conservatives. Love both these guys. But if I got a hold of academia, I would grab it by the tail. I'd whip it like a whip and crack its neck. And they know it. And the left want no part of me. I'm not saying that, Milo and Ben don't do an amazing job. They do. But let me tell you, my hard truth to these youngsters would crush them. Ben Shapiro's all of 30 years old. Milo may be the same. Let me tell you, somebody with my life experiences getting in their faces, they wouldn't even know what hit them. That's not what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the irony of the arsonist in wine country being an illegal. Yeah. The left got burned by an illegal. Pardon the pun. Excuse me. Yeah, they got burned by an illegal. And what's funny is the sanctuary state of California is protecting this guy. And it took the FBI, all the orchestration it took for the FBI to go get this guy is mind-boggling. It'll blow your mind. The orchestration to go get a guy who intentionally set fires in wine country. We're talking about people that have to grow. This business is not one that you go, oh, okay, no big deal. We'll stock the shelves tomorrow. You burn somebody's grapes, you burn their livelihood. You get what I'm saying? Now, look, they're all rich. These people own these vineyards. They got money. I'm not feeling sorry for them, but what I do feel sorry for is they've made an investment. People enjoy their product. And one guy who the left wants here, he is the reason that these people have lost. How many people were killed during these California fires? I know it's been at least a dozen. And there's a guy setting them, and he's illegal, and they're protecting him. And the FBI, or Department of Homeland Security, they have to go figure out the connective dots, and they find out he's he's an illegal. And I don't know if he's tied to a Mexican gang or whatever, but he's an illegal from Mexico that they believe. And I've heard multiple things. He intentionally set him because he wanted to get back at somebody or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm blown away by this. Anyway, I want to move on from that too, because we got a lot to cover. I want to talk about the Trump effect here soon. But before we get to that, Chelsea Handler, vile, despicable leftist, anti-Trumper. She gets canned on Netflix, and she comes out and says, I'm going to not do my Netflix show next season because I want to focus on politics. And I laughed at this because I said to myself, yeah, because everybody climbs to the mountaintop in Hollywood so they can then leave and start doing politics. Said nobody ever. When you get into Hollywood and you've made it to the top and you decide you want to become political, you know what it means? It means nobody cares about you. Jimmy Kimmel is a comic. That's what he's supposed to do. He used to make people laugh. You know what he's doing now? He's doing politics. And you know where Jimmy Kimmel's going to be in a very short time? He's going to be unemployed. He will be. And so will all the other comedic hacks that are on at late night that are doing nothing but bashing Donald Trump. What happens when you can no longer bash Donald Trump and you have to start saying good things about him and people start looking at you going, you're a fake, you're a fraud? Maybe Brad Stein, one of my good buddies who's a comedian, or Tim Wilkins or somebody will be able to get one of those slots because those guys are qualified. They're funny. And they're not going to put politics before the laugh. Chelsea Handler, you're a hack.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Please desperately need. Senator Cruz, do you want to respond?
I do. It's interesting. In his opening, Bernie invoked Robin Hood. And I got to say, I think Bernie fundamentally misunderstood that story. Robin Hood was robbing the tax collectors who were collecting too much taxes from the working men and women and taking it for the rich. In Bernie's analogy, it is the Democrats who are King John and the Sheriff of Nottingham. And Robin Hood is saying, tax collectors, stop hammering people who are struggling, who are laboring in the fields, who are working. Stop taking it to the castle to give out to your buddies. You notice Bernie's going to tell you all this free stuff he's going to give. And the Democrats love corporate welfare. They love to rail on the insurance companies. What they won't tell you is that under Obamacare, the profits for the insurance companies doubled. When you have Washington giving out goodies, the big guys do great. It's the little people who hurt. It's the young people. It's the entrepreneurs. Look, when my dad came to America from Cuba, he couldn't speak English. He was washing dishes. He was making 50 cents an hour. Our economy has been the place where people can come and do that. And it doesn't work. You notice, Bernie didn't disagree with what I said, that the gap between rich and poor has increased more under Obama than any president in history.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Ted Cruz is so right that Bernie Sanders and the left, they've made Robin Hood this character that robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. And he set the record straight. It's kind of like Uncle Tom. When people, you're an Uncle Tom. And I go, you do realize he was the good guy in the book, right? And it's funny to me that these people constantly, leftists, constantly get things wrong. And they don't even bother to go, don't be calling people Uncle Tom because he was the good guy. They don't correct it. It's just revisionist history. Now, and Uncle Tom, when people call me an Uncle Tom, I go, yeah, I'm an Uncle Tom. And the folks that do it, they're like, what? He accepts it. I do. I accept it. Now, I dare you to go read the book. And what's funny, the people that call me that, I immediately go, okay, you're just the typical dummy that doesn't understand who Uncle Tom was. Or you'd never call me that. If you want to be derogatory, you wouldn't call me Uncle Tom. It's crazy. And so here's Ted Cruz saying, Bernie's talking about Robin Hood. Robin Hood was a good guy, not because he robbed from the rich, because he robbed from the government's tax collectors. And he gave the money that they had already taken, extorted from the people back to the people. That's what made him good. Robin Hood wasn't going around saying, oh, hey, you, Mr. Farmer, you have more money than everybody else. I'm going to rob from you and go distribute your money. He didn't say that. He wouldn't have done it. But we don't. Who's corrected the record on this story? Ted Cruz finally did. Good for him. Makes him a viable candidate to move forward, other than he's got some other issues, but I'm glad he corrected the record. What I want to talk about, I was going to write this piece, and it was around the stock market and around the economy. And what I was going to say to you guys is put your money in the market, because Donald Trump's going to smash the stock market. Now, the market at the time was like 22,900 and change. And as I started to write it, I said, I'll give it a few days. It won't be that, it'll just linger here for a bit. It'll creep up 20 points here or there. I didn't think it was going to crash through the 23,000 barrier. But the day that I plan on writing it, the very next day, I looked at the ticker. It was 23,168. And I went, crap, because I wanted to write this piece before it hit 23,000. Because you guys may not remember, it was a big deal when we hit 21. Then it was 22. Now it's 23, and it had crashed through. It didn't 23,005 and then back down, come over and then back retract. It stayed solidly at 23. So I said, okay, it's happened. Let's write about it soon, because it's going to keep going. The next day, the market was 23,323 when I saw it. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. It's up another 160 points or whatever the number was. And I was like, oh. So now suddenly the post isn't even relevant, other than I was going to give a reason why the stock market is going to rise and continue to rise. That's what I was doing. I wanted to mock the left by reminding them of their predictions of economic doom and gloom had Trump gotten elected. And I was going to predict that the market would continue to rise. And I thought I had a week or so to work with. So getting distracted means that I missed the 53rd record-setting report of the stock market under Donald Trump. And it's funny that if we were having this discussion about Barack Obama, and Barack Obama artificially pumped the money into the economy, $1 trillion a year, which took the stock market from wherever it was when Bush left to records for Obama. But look at the number of records that Obama had over the 8-year period. I don't know what it is. And look at the number of records that Trump has had in less than a year. 53 stock market records. Now, the Obama rarely touted the stock market. He rarely did. He did at the end because it was all he had left. Because he couldn't tout it. He was pumping $1 trillion of worthless paper into the economy in order to, quote, save it, while he was doing long-term damage. And so he knew that it really wasn't the market driving up. It was the fact that he had increased inflation. And so, therefore, companies' profits sort of rose with it because they were getting more money for their products, yada, yada, yada. So it was cyclical in the sense of what he did. With Trump, it's not like that. With Trump, there's still some of that. There's a lingering effect. But the real stock market is based on exuberance. It's based on business leaders going, we feel good. And it's based on sales rising. This is a true bullish market. Now, it's going to correct. And what the left is hoping, and this is what I believe they may be setting us up. They may be trying to wait till we get to election time and then start pulling out their money. But I predict they won't. Yeah, I predict they won't. Donald Trump has charted an economic course. He willed the economic turnaround that we're now experiencing, and he set a path to make that happen. And CNN, they took the bait. They began discussing what now and forevermore will be called the Trump effect. And it was funny when you listen to the interviews, they're like, well, with Donald Trump, maybe that he'll do this or that because we're not really sure what the impact of Donald Trump is real on the economy. And I'm going, really? When Donald Trump was president-elect, businesses said, because Trump got elected, we are going to start making moves. And there were many of the CEOs that said, here's why we're doing what we're doing. Chairman Ma of SoftBank, many others said the reason why we're doing what we're doing is because of Donald Trump. They could not deny the Trump effect. And Donald Trump when I say he willed the economy, I mean he verbalized, we will turn this around. Here's how I'm going to do it. And he set the course to doing it, put out enough feelers into the business community, and these guys went, you know what? We believe him. And at president-elect, folks, this started, and you're just seeing the beginning of it, and your stock market is giving you an indicator. I don't put a lot into the stock market in the sense that it ebbs and flows, and I don't want it to be used against us later. But the stock market is going up and doing what it's doing for a reason, and it definitely has to do with the Trump effect. Trump set the tone for the new America, and the business leaders felt it. And his market sets real records, teamed with practically overemployment and an economic engine that's not just humming, it's roaring. The media shouldn't be discussing the fictitious Russia investigation, and they should be talking about this. Everybody working, pursuing happiness. You would think the media could at least take a 2-week vacation from Trump bashing just to recover, but they haven't and they won't. They hate President Trump, but they love money, and that's why the stock market is safe. And President Trump continually taunts him. He reminds him of his cabinet's competence. In a video, he discussed bringing in a former Goldman Sachs executive who took a huge pay cut in order to help the economy. And it was bold of him to rub the man's wealth and experience in the face of the left. He said things like, well, you got to look at this guy. He took a huge pay cut. Look at the pay cut. Donald Trump takes no salary. I don't even know how many. I wonder how many of Donald Trump's cabinet members don't even take salaries. Have we looked at that? We should look at that. I bet you a bunch of them don't. He's saying these are accomplished guys that want to do something right. And look at what's happening, folks, when you get accomplished people who want to do the right thing. Suddenly, your market's doing well. And ironically, gold is holding its own. Even gold is still holding steady, and it normally contracts when the stock market does this well. I'll have to explain it another time.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here, fellow at the Robert J. Dole Institute. I will be speaking at the David Horowitz Freedom Center, and I'm not sure the date. It's coming up November. It's at West Palm Beach, beautiful location, and I'm going to visit one of my sons, my adopted sons, one of my French sons, while there. So looking forward to that. Those guys reached out to me, and I think I told you the story. I'd been wondering why I hadn't spoken there before, because I see a lot of my friends speaking there, and they finally said, "Hey, Kevin, everybody's been asking, when's Kevin Jackson going to speak here?" And the guy was excited about it, and I'm excited about it. Going to the Gold Gloves in New York to now that baseball will be over here pretty soon, I'll be at the Gold Gloves, and my son loves it because it's just such an amazing event. And I took him last year. He got all kinds of autographs and things. It was just spectacular. So looking forward to that. Oh, man, Ozzy's I missed Ozzy's event. It just dawned on me. I missed Ozzie Smith's gala this year. Lots going on is all I can tell you. And I'm due to speak at a couple of other places. I know the guys up in Oregon at KYKN. We're trying to arrange something. I think the time frame is March. I don't know the outcome of that one, but that's farther in the future. I probably got 4 other events I'll tell you guys about since then. I'm telling you, we are booking up. It's tough to do my schedule to do the radio show, kind of live up to my Fox commitments. And then, as I mentioned, I'll be in New York on the 4th and the 5th of November to do Fox and Friends. And I'm going to want you guys tuning in and telling all your friends and social media and all that other stuff to let people know Kevin Jackson's on the air. And it's not just as a guest. So I'm looking forward to that. Somebody asked me, was I nervous about it? I'm not. I'm not nervous about it. It's a different format. I'm going to be myself. Because if I can't do that and get up and do that job, if they wanted to hire me for it, then what good would I be, right? So I'll keep you posted on that. I want to talk about Harvey Weinstein and his cure. He got cured. Now, there's an update to the story. I'll get to that in a second. But he was out of rehab in a week, 1 week. So here's where I was looking at it. 30 years of being a sexual predator in Hollywood, and you can fix that in 1 week. Yeah, he left therapy in Arizona after 1 week. This is what TMZ had reported. The disgraced former studio head completed an outpatient program. We learned that the program involved intensive therapy for various psychological issues, and all of these problems were solved in 1 week. And his psychologist told TMZ that despite reports to the contrary, Weinstein took his program seriously. Yeah, it was like Hell Week for the Navy SEALs. He was holding a log over his head as they were spraying water in his face, and it was freezing cold. He's like, "I want to give it up. Yeah, I can't go." I can just see what Harvey was doing, how he took the program so seriously. The psychologist told the website that Weinstein underwent counseling that focused on, quote, dealing with his anger, his attitude towards others, boundary work, and beginnings of work on empathy. And I can only imagine what happened in these meetings. Did Weinstein promise all the clinicians movie roles? Of course, after fondling their private parts and watering the plants, if you know what I mean. How stupid do these people think we are? There's no way on God's green earth that Weinstein is anywhere near close to being cured of his pathology. And if you want more insulting news, I found this out. Weinstein stayed at a luxury resort in Scottsdale, Arizona. He didn't even stay at the clinic. For all we know, Weinstein flew in hookers during the evenings, then pretended to be healed when the therapist traveled to him for his sessions. I mean, this man really is God for Holly weirdos. Because here's the deal. I've seen Dr. Drew's therapy session for the Holly weirdos. Have you seen that show? I don't remember the name of it. But they required attendees to be on site, present and accounted for. They take away anything related to your past obsessions. So I want you to picture Harvey going to Dr. Drew's deal, and they're unpacking his bag, and he's got, his little thumb drive, and they're like, "What's on here, Harvey?" Oh, nothing at all. And it's got, rape fantasies or some sort of porn. And they're like, Harvey. They look at it and the clinician comes back in and says, Harvey, please. This thing was full of porn. And Harvey's, I didn't know. My assistant packed it for me. Yeah, whatever. And they go, okay, what's this? You got, big boob. You got breast action. You got, vajayjay. You got, all these magazines. Hustler, Penthouse. Oh, I don't know who packed those. That's not my bag. I mean, I could see this guy just losing everything. He's got, a little baggie that's hidden in a pocket. And they go, what's all this, Harvey? And it's got, all these sex toys. Look, I'm not trying. I understand the stations I'm on and I get it, folks. I'm just trying to make a real serious point that this guy's nowhere close to being cured. They're not trying to cure him. They're not trying to cure Hollywood of its ills. They are trying to play us. I love how they said he showed up to all the meetings and was fully engaged. There were things this is what they write. There were things that triggered Weinstein's anger, and our job was to help him recognize where it was coming from and how to control it. But he was not venting about some conspiracy to get him. It was an appropriate display of anger. Really? What's Harvey mad about? I told you guys, Harvey Weinstein was the fat, ugly Jewish kid who couldn't get a date, and he resented women. And instead of pulling a, Jeffrey Dahmer or some sort of crazy thing on him where he was, bringing him over and killing him and we were going to dig up 30 bodies and Harvey was going to look like the nice kid on the block, he took it out a different way. He said, I'll get to power. And when I get to power, I will get every one of you chicks back. Every bit of anger he has for all the girls who he didn't love before, not to get under Willie Nelson and Julio's song, but all that anger is now being played out in these starlets. But guess what? They're willing. Talked about Eddie Bernice Johnson saying, you know what, ladies, you don't have to do this. Harvey Weinstein, we wouldn't even be talking about Harvey Weinstein if every woman that went into the director's office said, I'm here for a movie. I'm here for a role. That's it. If every one of them said that, we're not even having this conversation. I'm not exonerating the man by any means. I thought about this and I said, these allegations of sexual misconduct against Weinstein represent Hollywood's version of the Clinton server scandal. See, the crime is in your face, clear to you, but the punishment is a slap on the wrist. And I've asked this question in this broadcast. I've asked it in previous broadcasts. Why hasn't Hollywood outed other Weinsteins? And Hollywood and other leftists remain silent instead. They enjoy their ruse of rehab, political and otherwise. See, the Clintons have been rehabbed. That's what they want us to believe. They've gone through rehab. Bill Clinton has been through rehab. He's a changed man. The jig is up, folks, on these clowns. We know about them. We know about them. Now, I've heard, oh, no, they extended Harvey another month. He's gone through phase 1. Now he's in phase 2. And I think to myself, really? Look, let me explain something to you folks. When I was a kid, and my mother died and my grandmother raised me, etc., I resented everybody. I resented, not directly, I didn't resent whole families, but I could see there was something about them that elicited an emotion in me that I couldn't understand. To this day, I see families together and I'm like, wow, that is so cool. But it made me angry that my mother left. And in relationships with women, if they left, I would be, or, like, hey, Kevin, you seem kind of distant and cold. I would be like, well, I'll show you how distant and cold. Go. I don't need you. And if you think that a week of therapy was going to get me out of that, you're losing your mind. It was ingrained in me to say, to heck with you. If my mother could die, I don't need you. And I'll be honest with you, I still hold a lot of those same emotions. I've just learned how to deal with them and not let people go so quickly. You guys hear me on the radio say all the time, I don't give a crap. And I mean it. But you have to control it in the sense of, Kevin, do you want your message out there? Yes, I do. Then you got to give a crap a little bit. All right. These guys want you to believe these guys that the left is healing themselves. Bill Clinton didn't spend one day in therapy, which Harvey Weinstein can at least say, I spent a week. Bill Clinton did exactly what Harvey Weinstein did on the political circle in D.C., Hollywood for ugly people, and he's done no penance. Harvey Weinstein's done a week, maybe a month. Congratulations, Hollywood. You're really fixing yourselves. You haven't told us who else is involved, who else has been hurt. These people are incorrigible.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.